monster hurricane, Category 3, possibly a Category 4. After that, the problem is it stalls. All of the steering currents die, and the storm meanders around parts of East Texas for the better part of 5 to 6 days. That means 5 to 6 days of heavy tropical rain.
Fox meteorologist Rick Reichmuth says landfall likely late Friday night or early Saturday. American Airlines has now canceled the last of its 2 flights out of Corpus Christi, Texas tonight because of the weather. Florida has put a killer to death. 53-year-old Mark Assay given a lethal injection within the hour. He shot 2 men to death in Jacksonville back in 1987. He is Florida's first ever execution for a white-on-black killing. California's state Supreme Court has upheld Prop 66, the measure passed by California voters to speed up the appeals process in death penalty cases. The measure calls on the courts to expedite reviews of capital cases, appoint attorneys as soon as possible, and grant extensions only for extraordinary reasons. There are 750 inmates currently on California's death row. A hostage standoff on Charleston, South Carolina's historic King Street ends in gunfire.
Police say the incident ended with the gunman shot and critically wounded, but not before that gunman shot and killed a chef in a downtown Charleston restaurant. Mayor John Tecklenburg called it a tragedy, beginning with a man who, for one reason or another, was fired from his job at that restaurant.
Who took his anger into his own hands. And we tragically lost a member of our community today.
The mayor was clear it wasn't a hate crime. Hostages the gunman was holding were rescued unharmed.
Fox's Gernal Scott. The Dow down 28 points. Fox News. Fair and balanced.
I'm Nick Soboleski, a Select Quote agent with a true story that could save you hundreds of dollars a year. A woman named Linda just called. Her husband, Ray, has a $300,000 group life insurance policy, but is changing jobs and can't take it with him. Well, I shopped the many highly rated term life insurance companies we represent and found Ray, who is 41 and takes medication to control his cholesterol, a 10-year, $500,000 policy for under $27 a month. That's almost twice the coverage for less than half of what he had paid. If SelectQuote hasn't shopped for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote, call 800-224-5353. That's 800-224-5353. 800-224-5353. Or go to SelectQuote.com. Since 1985, we shop, you save.
Get full details on the example policy at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Or price could vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
The opinions expressed on this show are those of the participants, the hosts, the guests, and the callers, and do not necessarily reflect the opinions and views of Southern Stone Communications, WNDB Radio, its employees, and friends. Comments regarding WNDB's programming can be addressed to D. Lang at DaytonaRadio.com.
Live from Daytona Beach, Florida, bringing a voice to America's forgotten working class, speaking the truth for the America that Washington left behind, making America great again, 1 hour at a time. This is Trump Talk Live, where we the people have the right voice, presented by the Republican Party of Volusia County. Now, here are your hosts, Vic Baker and Tony Ledbetter.
Greetings, fellow American patriots, Republicans, and welcome to the Phoenix Rising, Trump Doctrine, American Legion, Do Nothing Congress, Tearing Down History episode of Trump Talk Live, the home of fearless truth-telling about President Donald Trump's mission to make America great again in spite of the lefty propagandists, Republican backstabbers, deep state plotters, and swamp dwellers emerging from the morass in Washington, D.C. Obama's Director of National Intelligence, who lied under oath before Congress on more than one occasion, says that Donald Trump's outspoken manner proves he's unfit for the office. Let he who is without sin cast the first stone, Mr. Clapper. You conspired with that scurrilous CIA Director John Brennan, liar for hire Susan Rice, and clueless John Kerry to leave America vulnerable to global villains. Your administration shipped pallets of cash to Iran to ransom a nuke deal with a devil that does absolutely nothing to keep the mullahs from launching nuclear missiles at Israel and its allies in a matter of weeks. You drew red lines in Syria that blew away like sand in the desert wind. You supported strategic patience with that madman in North Korea who continues to threaten the civilized world. President Trump promised him fire and fury and won global sanctions to rein in North Korean nukes. You helped us pull out of Iraq, leaving a huge void for the birth of ISIS. Trump has unleashed our military to beat them back. And you allowed the Taliban to turn back our hard-fought gains in Afghanistan. President Trump has now unveiled the Trump Doctrine. In short, we are not in Afghanistan to do nation building. We are boots on the ground to kill terrorists before they come after us. We won't tell them when or how, but their days are numbered. You don't win by scheduling an end date to a war. You win by attacking and killing the enemy and telling them when it's over. And 2 nuclear neighbors in the region have to do their part. Pakistan, you're on notice. Stop harboring terrorists or you're next. India, you're the world's largest democracy. It's time to pitch in and help Afghanistan defeat the Taliban and rebuild their nation. Secretary of Defense James Mattis has told Russia to stop menacing Ukraine and other nations of Eastern Europe. There will be a price to pay for aggression. Here on the home front, oh, the outrage. Finger-pointing hypocrites are calling President Trump a racist because he didn't mention the KKK the first time around after Charlottesville. So tell us, why don't the Democrats ever tell us why they invented the KKK, opposed abolition of slavery, enacted Jim Crow segregation laws, and opposed integration? Why doesn't fancy Nancy Pelosi tell us her own father dedicated a statue to Robert E. Lee in Baltimore? Why doesn't former President Obama tell us he had slave-owning ancestors? Does that make him guilty by way of his family tree? Tell us why Comrade de Blasio, the commissar of the Big Apple, wants to tear down statues of Columbus and Teddy Roosevelt? Where does this stop? We said it before, we say it again. If you follow the lead of ISIS, of Mao Zedong, of Stalin, and try to rewrite history or erase it, you do so at the peril of repeating it. Oh, and if your name happens to be Robert Lee, you're not safe from the ESPN PC police, even if you happen to be Asian. We saw the Donald Trump who won our votes when we saw him rise in Phoenix. Rhino Republicans and Mitch McConnell, you're on notice. Start doing your job. Stop the filibuster bluster of the Democrats and get to work on health care reform, tax reform, the debt limit, the budget, and building that wall, not to mention infrastructure. By the way, did the lefty socialist mediacrat mongers tell you that Donald Trump has cut more U.S. debt for a longer period of time than any previous president? We didn't think so. Oh, and by the way, Steve Bannon left the White House less than a week ago. Anybody notice any difference? I don't think so. That's because Donald Trump is his own chief strategist. And while changing circumstances and common sense brought him to a different strategy in Afghanistan, he's still the president we picked to put America first, secure America's borders, enforce America's laws, build that wall, and drain that swamp. Get a spine, Congress. Get a clue. Your president is counting on you to keep your promises. If you don't, he'll tell his voters to say, "You're fired." And he'll get behind candidates who will do the work that America deserves. Our thanks again tonight to Volusia County TAR's chairman, Duncan DeMarsh, riding the webcast graphics control board with assistance from his stalwart co-chair, Malcolm Swaggerty. I'm your unapologetic Trumpublican, Vic Baker, co-hosting Trump Talk Live tonight alongside the tireless chairman of the Volusia County Republican Party, Tony Ledbetter. Tony.
Thank you, Vic. Excited to be back this week. There's something very important that I saw on Facebook this week, and the idea I'm fixing to give you, I didn't create it, but I think it's important because the news media is feeding off things that we do. Anytime you see a post up on Facebook that comes from ABC, CBS, NBC, all of the fake news, CNN, I want to encourage you to start doing this. If you see something that they put up, delete it. Because if you click on it and read it, guess what? They get credit for the click, and it keeps them in business. If you really want to put ABC, CBS, CNN, MSNBC, put these people out of business, then we've got to stop reading whatever they write. Now, occasionally, maybe once every 50 times they do something right, but the other 49, they're lying about President Trump. And the same thing applies with email. If you receive an email from one of your friends and it has an article in it about or from any one of these fake news people, well, if you open the email and open the article, here again, it goes back. They count clicks. So if we stop looking, I don't care. You may be mad and you may be furious, but we've got to stop reading the lies. If we stop reading and clicking on their lies, then they will start disappearing. So I really believe that whoever put this up, it was the right idea, and it's going around Facebook now. People are talking about stop clicking on the lamestream media's posts because we know that 80 to 90% of the time they're producing lies. So why read it? We need to stay away from it. So I know Vic's got a fantastic program set up for tonight. And I want to commend Vic. He's at this 24/7, 7 days a week, and he produces all this stuff. And I thank Vic for doing this. He's the one that's making this show a success. And I know from looking at the different platforms that we're on, Facebook and the podcast and also YouTube, we're reaching 1,800, I think, to 2,000 people a week, which is exciting. I never believed when we started this that we would be reaching that many people this quick. But tell your friends, if they don't have time to search all the news, go to Volusia County Republican Facebook site, because you will read pretty much everything that you're hearing tonight on the Facebook. So listen to Trump Talk Live, go to the Facebook site, and read the rest of the information during the week. So let's get her going, Vic.
Yes, Tony, I'll admit the Facebook page slows down a little bit the day before the show because I'm working on this instead. But a few quick items for you off the top of the news from today. We just wanted to share with you a picture that'll give you a kick. The total eclipse of a Barack Obama. Everybody was going ooh and ah over the solar eclipse. Well, the Trumpublicans are happy about this eclipse if you're looking at it right now. The total eclipse of Barack Obama by Donald Trump. That's the new era we're in. Let's give you a little advisory for if you have any relatives in Texas, because Hurricane Harvey is on its way. Special advisory issued to update Harvey's initial and forecast data. They're predicting up to 2 feet of rain. So flooding conditions and a possible Cat 2, Cat 3 Hurricane Harvey on its way to Texas. Our prayers with the people of Texas. We know Donald Trump and his FEMA people and General Kelly, who was the Homeland Security Secretary, but is now Chief of Staff. I'm sure they've got their eyes on that situation. Now, back to the politics. Bob Menendez, you know, is the New Jersey Democrat senator who's on trial for corruption in federal court. The judge has just informed him he will not be excused from the courtroom in September, even though he's supposed to be back on the job after his lengthy 58-day vacation during the August recess. He will not be allowed to return during his trial for fraud. Therefore, the Democrats will be deprived of one more vote in the Senate. John McCain may be sidelined too. It might be a draw on that. But in any case, they'll give the Republicans some advantage. Now, James Clapper was the man who was the director of national intelligence for Barack Obama. He lied under oath a number of times, claimed that he was misinterpreted or he misunderstood the questions. This man's either not too bright or he's just a damn liar. Well, James Clapper this week, or today in fact, put out his doubts that Donald Trump is fit for the office based on his comments. Well, you know something? Trump is different than any other president, but he's no different than any other Queens businessman or Queens guy that knows you don't give up a fight easily, and you fight back hard, and that's what he's doing. Now, just today, the military said we don't have any guidance from the White House on the transgender ban. Well, the Trump White House says there is a new guidance out from them, and the new guidance says no new enlistments. No new enlistments of transgenders. The ones that are in will not be affected. So that is of course, that won't be acceptable to those that want transgenders in the military.
Let's expand on that a minute. I saw on Facebook where there was, in California, this actually happened in a school where teachers actually had kids and they were reading some kind of book that talked about transgender. And when this kid went home, he was talking to his mother about, "Mother, am I going to change?" I mean, this is insane that they let this kind of stuff be taught or be discussed in school, in the preschool or kindergarten or anywhere. I mean, there's no reason to discuss this. Now, if you're an adult and you want to talk about it, that's one thing. But this doesn't need to be anywhere near our children, because all you're going to do is confuse them.
Gender is confusing enough an issue from womb to tomb without adding more confusion. Now, one more item. Defense Secretary Mattis promises support to Ukraine. We have a quick bite from Mattis telling the people of Ukraine that we're standing with them in case the Russians want to make more mischief trying to grab land. And that's Mattis, Kiev.
And by being here, I'm making a statement that we intend to strengthen the relationship between our two countries. I need to come here and to better understand the situation your soldiers face on the front lines. This permits me, better informed, to go back and advocate for what I believe you need as brought to me by your Minister of Defense and certainly your President.
Secretary Mattis making very clear to Putin that you don't put in another boot in Ukraine, and you don't put your boot on their neck. So we have a lot to talk about. The phoenix rising of Donald Trump, Donald Trump's new doctrine for Afghanistan, and his address to the American Legion. All of that coming up when Trump Talk Live continues.
Your voice can be heard loud and clear right here on Trump Talk Live. Our local number is 239-0033. You can call us toll-free from anywhere in the USA at 800-927-0033. Stay tuned for more Trump Talk Live, speaking for the America the DC elites forgot.
Feeling stuck in a state of compensation stagnation? You know, another year with no raise. Then let State Farm agent Sonia Mori in DeLand help you get to a better state with a discount double check that can stretch your hard-earned dollars a little farther. Sonia will go through your car insurance to make sure you're getting all the discounts you deserve. Discounts that could add up to 40% and put a few hundred extra dollars in your pocket. Sound good? Then get your budget to a better state by calling State Farm agent Sonia Mori in DeLand today. Discounts may vary state to state.
Finding great people to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. It's time to try ZipRecruiter, where 80% of jobs get a qualified candidate in just one day. How? Using powerful technology, ZipRecruiter matches your job to the right candidates fast. So, while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, only ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/free for your free trial. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Your voice can be heard loud and clear right here on Trump Talk Live. Our local number is 239-0033. You can call us toll-free from anywhere in the USA at 800-927-0033.
Welcome back, everybody. Our phone number, 1-800-927-0033, toll-free anywhere in the United States. President Trump, the phoenix rising of President Trump. He came back with his fists flying this week. Now, we'll get to the speech on Afghanistan in a moment, the American Legion, but this is where the fireworks flew. We're going to not start at here's what he talked about in terms of the movement that got him elected and why he is where he is and why he persists. It's cut number 2 from Phoenix.
And we pledge our allegiance to one nation under God. You always understood what Washington, D.C. did not. Our movement is a movement built on love. It's love for fellow citizens. It's love for struggling Americans who've been left behind, and love for every American child who deserves a chance to have all of their dreams come true. From the inner cities to the rural outposts, from the Sun Belt to the Rust Belt, from east to west and north to south, our movement is built on the conviction that every American from every background is entitled to a government that puts their needs first. It is finally time to rebuild our country, to take care of our people, and to fight for the jobs our great American workers deserve. And that's what we're doing.
And he talked about the forgotten Americans. He is the one person who has not forgotten those Americans. That's cut number 3.
And remember, we used to talk about the forgotten men and women before the election? Guess what? They're not forgotten anymore, right? Anymore. No, they're not forgotten anymore, folks. In fact, they're trying to figure you out. They're saying, the obstructionists, how do we get them to vote for us? I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. We believe that every American has the right to live with dignity. Respect for America demands respect for all of its people. Loyalty to our nation requires loyalty to each other. We all share the same home, the same dreams, and the same hopes for a better future. A wound inflicted upon one member of our community is a wound inflicted upon us all.
Donald Trump laying it out for the people in Phoenix. And there were protesters. We're not going to show you the protesters. There were about 1,000, 2,000 out there, not the tens of thousands they predicted, even though George Soros opened his checkbook again. But he's also talking to his people about the fake news. Let's hear what he has to say about that.
But the very dishonest media, those people right up there with all the cameras, and I mean truly dishonest people in the media and the fake media, they make up stories. They have no sources in many cases. They say a source says there is no such thing, but they don't report the facts. Just like they don't want to report that I spoke out forcefully against hatred, bigotry, and violence, and strongly condemned the neo-Nazis, the white supremacists, and the KKK.
Further exposing the hypocrisy and lies of the fake media.
It's time to expose the crooked media deceptions and to challenge the media for their role in fomenting divisions. And yes, by the way, they are trying to take away our history and our heritage. You see that. The only people giving a platform to these hate groups is the media itself and the fake news.
We're not going to relitigate, Tony, the Charlottesville. He laid out in great detail what he actually said and what they kept failing to hear from him.
Right. Let me weigh in on something very important that he said. He said that they don't understand us. One of the reasons they don't understand us is they don't live in our world. These lamestream media people do not live in our world. They've never been in our world. They don't understand anything about how we feel about President Trump. They do not live in your world. So when they talk about President Trump, they don't live in our world. The other thing that's very important is, President Trump said something on Monday. He said something on Tuesday. He said something on Wednesday. And then you hear these lamestream media idiots come out and say, oh, my God, he said something on Monday, but he stepped on his message on Tuesday, and then he stepped on his message again on Wednesday. Well, I don't believe that, okay? He said something on Monday. We all heard it. Move on. He said something on Tuesday. We all heard it. We all understand it. Move on. But these talking heads, even on Fox, continue to push this stupid narrative about he can't talk about more than one subject in a week. Well, we live in Trump world today. We can talk about as many subjects as we want to in a week because we understand them, and we're going to deal with them, and we're going to move on, and the media is going to still be sitting there trying to figure us out.
Well, you're right, Tony. What it is they want to dictate the narrative for the week. They decide somehow together, I was in the news media. I know you don't sit together in the same conference room. Somehow there's a collective beehive mentality of the of the news media. They all decide together somehow, the buzz. This is the buzzword we're going to use this week, and you'll hear it over and over again on every news outlet. Well, he just changes the narrative day by day and sometimes minute by minute.
They must have a private Facebook page that they go to, a closed group.
I don't know. I think it's just a mental thing, like a beehive, like bees communicate with each other without ever talking to each other. Now, here he talked about other things. He talked about sanctuary cities. He talked about controlling the border. He talked about cleaning out drunk tanks. Let's go to cut 11.
We are cracking down on the sanctuary cities that shield criminal aliens, finally. And we are building a wall on the southern border, which is absolutely necessary. Build that wall. Now, the obstructionist Democrats would like us not to do it, but believe me, if we have to close down our government, we're building that wall. Let me be very clear to Democrats in Congress who oppose a border wall and stand in the way of border security. You are putting all of America's safety at risk. You're doing that. You're doing that. Again, the Border Patrol today, I said, how important is the wall to some of the folks? I met with a lot of them. And they looked at me, they said, it's vital.
Absolutely vital. Another thing that he wants to talk about, and I'll tell you this, as in the same manner that he told North Korea's plumpocrat, you're going to see a rain of fire and fury like you've never seen before if you threaten 1 yard of American soil. Well, guess what? We haven't had any more real threats since then. Not to mention the fact that we actually got China and Russia to go along with a UN Security Council sanction that is going to squeeze out about a third of their economy, which is pretty limping along as it is. The other thing is, he makes a threat to shut down the government. It's not going to happen. But because they know he's just crazy enough to make it happen, guess what? They'll toe the line.
That's negotiating.
Yeah, exactly right. It's a negotiating stance. Now, the other thing he wants the Senate to do, Mitch McConnell doesn't want to do because he's afraid of what will happen if he'll be in the minority, which God help us if we ever are in the minority again.
We're done.
Is he says you got to get rid of that filibuster. So let's hear what he has to say about that in cut 12.
The Senate, remember this, look, the Senate, we have to get rid of what's called the filibuster rule. We have to. And if we don't, the Republicans will never get anything passed. You're wasting your time. We have to get rid of the filibuster rule. Right now, we need 60 votes, and we have 52 Republicans. That means that 8 Democrats are controlling all of this legislation.
Yeah, and so it's a stranglehold. It's always been a stranglehold. When you've got milquetoast Republicans that are afraid to stand up to Democrats, that's what happens. Nothing happens. Now, they said, don't call out McCain and Flake by name. You know, Flake who wrote a book against Trump and McCain who torpedoed the Obamacare repeal bill. But here's what the president did say.
So in Washington, we're taking power out of the hands of donors and special interests and putting that power back into the hands of the people that voted for us, okay, for us. The same failed voices in Washington who oppose our movement are the same people who gave us one terrible trade deal after another, who gave us one foreign policy disaster after another, who sacrificed our sovereignty, our wealth, and our jobs. We don't need advice from the Washington, D.C. swamp. We need right now to drain the swamp. That's what's happening, too, believe me. Washington is full of people who are only looking out for themselves. They all said, Mr. President, your speech was so good last night. Please, please, Mr. President, don't mention any names. So I won't. I won't. No, I won't vote. One vote away, I will will not mention any names. Very presidential, isn't it? Very presidential. And nobody wants me to talk about your other senator, who's weak on borders, weak on crime. So I won't talk about him. Nobody wants me to talk about him. Nobody knows who the hell he is. And now, see, I haven't mentioned any names, so now everybody's happy. But we are going to get rid of Obamacare. I will never stop. One vote. I will never stop. We're going to get rid of Obamacare.
Thank you, President Trump, for being presidential.
Yeah, we're going to come back with a little more of Phoenix and a lot of more of the important Trump doctrine agenda when we return.
Your voice can be heard loud and clear right here on Trump Talk Live. Our local number is 239-0033. You can call us toll-free from anywhere in the USA at 800-927-0033. Don't touch that dial. More Trump Talk Live is moments away, where we the people have the right voice.
In our firm, we have sections dedicated to certain types of cases. Products liability, tire blowouts, rollovers, and airbag cases. Class actions, where companies are illegally taking advantage of sometimes millions of consumers at the same time. Pharmaceutical cases, where certain drugs cause injury, illness, and sometimes death. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. When we built forthepeople.com, we designed it as a consumer website to protect you and your family so that you would have a place to go for protection and to learn more about your legal rights. We hope that if you have questions about a drug, a product, or a class action consumer issue, that forthepeople.com will act as a place for you to learn more. Remember, information is power. It's open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can call us anytime. Try it. You'll like it. Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com. Offices, Daytona Beach.
Your voice can be heard loud and clear right here on Trump Talk Live. Our local number is 239-0033. You can call us toll-free from anywhere in the USA at 800-927-0033.
Thank you. We're back. I want to talk a little bit about our sponsors for the program and also remind you again that we have Judge Jeanine Pirro, the Trump-loving person on Fox on Saturday nights. I'm so excited that we have the judge coming on October the 8th. It's at the Ocean Center, and you better buy your tickets now or you will not be able to get in. We're well over half sold, and Ron DeSantis will be there as one of our speakers, and Casey DeSantis will be our mistress of ceremonies. Sonia Mori, a very good friend of mine, she has a State Farm agency in DeLand, and you hear her commercials here on a regular basis. We appreciate it if you would support her. Mary Marino, Marino's Pizza in DeLand. Also, Milne Plumbing Company, his telephone number is 386-986-8688. Milne Roofing Company. I'm sorry, I'm having a senior moment here. Keith Milne, his number is 386-986-8688. We really appreciate them supporting us because we're having great success here, we believe, and please listen to us every week and go to our Volusia County Republican Facebook site.
Thank you, Tony. And we continue with more of the Phoenix Rising rally. Donald Trump just was on fire. Now, one of the other things, of course, the big controversy after Charlottesville is let's tear down all the monuments to our history. My argument against that is no matter how abhorrent slavery may have been, we need to keep historical records of even the ugly events in our past. Now, I know some say these statues honor people who were on the other side. Well, that may well be, but you can always change a plaque or two, but don't erase the history. Here's what the president said about that, because it's going to get on a slippery slope where we're going to be tearing down all of our monuments. Let's listen to Cut 16.
In the proud tradition of America's great leaders, from George Washington, please don't take his statue down, please. Please. Does anybody want George Washington's statue? No. Is that sad? Is that whole sad? To Lincoln, to Teddy Roosevelt, I see they want to take Teddy Roosevelt's down to. They're trying to figure out why. They don't know. They're trying to take away our culture. They're trying to take away our history.
And it's unfathomable. Now, on to the issue of trade. NAFTA. We're currently in negotiation with Canada and Mexico on NAFTA. They kind of like the deal because it seems to be favoring them quite a bit. The president doesn't like it because he believes it's cost thousands upon thousands of American jobs, manufacturing jobs in particular. Here's what he thinks about NAFTA, Cut 17.
Personally, I don't think we can make a deal because we have been so badly taken advantage of. They have made such great deals, both of the countries, but in particular Mexico, that I don't think we can make a deal. So I think we'll end up probably terminating NAFTA at some point. Okay, probably.
Okay, so the Congress comes back on September 5th, the day after Labor Day, after their 58-day paid vacation at your expense, America. You should be telling them, shame on you. You have no excuse for taking a 58-day vacation. Too much important legislation lies on the table waiting for your action. You won't have enough time between now and the end of the fiscal year to accomplish what needs to be done. The president wants tax reform. Let's hear about that.
America's crushing business tax is a massive, self-inflicted economic wound. We have one of the highest business tax rates anywhere in the world, pushing jobs and wealth out of our country. That is why we are going to lower the tax on American business to bring back those companies, bring them back to America. We want more products stamped with the letters Made in the USA. We also want everyday Americans to be able to keep more of their own money. So for the Democratic senators, especially the ones where I won their states by 20 and 30 points, I really hope you're going to come over to our side. It's time to pass a tax cut for the middle-class families. We will make America the best place in the world to hire, grow, and start a business again. We want to lift our people from welfare to work, from dependence to independence, and from poverty to prosperity.
So that was a contrast from Monday night when he gave his first address to the nation on what we're going to do about Afghanistan. As you know, President Obama pulled out of Iraq precipitously and ISIS was born. We pulled back quite a bit from Afghanistan and the Taliban is on the rise again. We drew a red line in Syria and guess how that turned out? Not too well. And with North Korea, we engaged in what Obama called strategic patience. And look, he's menacing the entire world now. So here's the first example of presidential leadership to contrast from that. We're going to call
16 years after September 11th attacks, after the extraordinary sacrifice of blood and treasure, the American people are weary of war without victory. Nowhere is this more evident than with the war in Afghanistan. The longest war in American history, 17 years. I share the American people's frustration. I also share their frustration over a foreign policy that has spent too much time, energy, money, and most importantly, lives, trying to rebuild countries in our own image instead of pursuing our security interests above all other considerations.
Now, you know Steve Bannon's gone. Steve Bannon was very much against intervening in Afghanistan. He wanted us to pull out. But you know that's been a festering breeding ground for terrorists. You can't just leave it alone. The military generals like Mattis, General Kelly, in fact, and General Nicholson, who's in charge of forces of Afghanistan, have clearly said to the president, you can't pull out because this is where it all comes from. This is the breeding ground. We can't. We've got to put a stop to it. We're going to make a change, but it's not going to be that change. That's not the change we're going to make. So the president has shifted his position based on the advice of the best military minds in modern times. And here's what he said he has concluded.
My original instinct was to pull out. And historically, I like following my instincts. But all my life, I've heard that decisions are much different when you sit behind the desk in the Oval Office.
President Trump laid out the Trump Doctrine, 3 fundamental conclusions, starting with this.
First, our nation must seek an honorable and enduring outcome worthy of the tremendous sacrifices that have been made, especially the sacrifices of lives. The men and women who serve our nation in combat deserve a plan for victory. They deserve the tools they need and the trust they have earned to fight and to win.
The second conclusion is an important thing. Rapid withdrawal is not a viable option.
The consequences of a rapid exit are both predictable and unacceptable. 9/11, the worst terrorist attack in our history, was planned and directed from Afghanistan because that country was ruled by a government that gave comfort and shelter to terrorists. A hasty withdrawal would create a vacuum that terrorists, including ISIS and Al-Qaeda, would instantly fill, just as happened before September 11th. And as we know, in 2011, America hastily and mistakenly withdrew from Iraq. As a result, our hard-won gains slipped back into the hands of terrorist enemies. Our soldiers watched as cities they had fought for and bled to liberate and won were occupied by a terrorist group called ISIS.
Afghanistan is a festering breeding ground for terrorists that threaten security of the United States and all of Western civilization. That's the third conclusion.
Today, 20 U.S. designated foreign terrorist organizations are active in Afghanistan and Pakistan, the highest concentration in any region, anywhere in the world.
He inherited a mess from Obama.
But we do not have the luxury of going back in time and making different or better decisions. When I became president, I was given a bad and very complex hand. But I fully knew what I was getting into. Big and intricate problems. But one way or another, these problems will be solved. I'm a problem solver. And in the end, we will win.
And the president has determined that we will base our strategy going forward in Afghanistan on conditions and outcomes, not on calendars and arbitrary timelines that signal the enemy where we're going.
A core pillar of our new strategy is a shift from a time-based approach to one based on conditions. I've said it many times, how counterproductive it is for the United States to announce in advance the dates we intend to begin or end military options. We will not talk about numbers of troops or our plans for further military activities. Conditions on the ground, not arbitrary timetables, will guide our strategy from now on.
We're no longer in the business of nation building, says the president. We're killing terrorists.
We are a partner and a friend, but we will not dictate to the Afghan people how to live or how to govern their own complex society. We are not nation building again. We are killing terrorists.
He has served notice to Pakistan, which has harbored terrorists and criminals for years. This president's finally saying what other presidents have failed to say.
We can no longer be silent about Pakistan's safe havens for terrorist organizations, the Taliban, and other groups that pose a threat to the region and beyond. Pakistan has much to gain from partnering with our effort in Afghanistan. It has much to lose by continuing to harbor criminals and terrorists.
Now, President Trump is also calling out India, which is the world's largest democracy and has a vibrant free enterprise economy, to use their resources to help rebuild their neighbor, Afghanistan, instead of relying on U.S. taxpayers to do that job. He's called them out. They're also a nuclear power that have a lot of sway in the region.
Another critical part of the South Asia strategy for America is to further develop its strategic partnership with India, the world's largest democracy and a key security and economic partner of the United States. We appreciate India's important contributions to stability in Afghanistan, but India makes billions of dollars in trade with the United States, and we want them to help us more with Afghanistan, especially in the area of economic assistance and development.
And most importantly, this president is instituting new rules of engagement, giving our commanders in the field the power to unleash the might of America's undaunted military.
Finally, my administration will ensure that you, the brave defenders of the American people, will have the necessary tools and rules of engagement to make this strategy work, and work effectively, and work quickly. I have already lifted restrictions the previous administration placed on our warfighters that prevented the Secretary of Defense and our commanders in the field from fully and swiftly waging battle against the enemy. Micromanagement from Washington, D.C. does not win battles.
So, Tony, what do you think?
Well, I believe everything President Trump said. I wake up every day happy. We elected the right person. He's doing the right thing. And fortunately, I don't have too many Democrat friends. And so I stay happy every day because I'm talking to my Republican friends.
Right. Okay, now we're going to move on to Ron DeSantis, who was on recently. We're going to go to cut 3 on him to start with, talking about the president's new stance in Afghanistan. And the question to Congressman DeSantis, himself a Navy JAG or former Navy JAG officer. I think he's currently in the reserve still, but
yeah.
He's an Iraq War veteran and he's a Navy JAG officer. He's got a lot of military credentials to talk to this, and he sits on many of the committees in Congress about it. Can we actually win this war, they asked him.
Well, look, we did win initially militarily. They took out the Taliban. They routed al-Qaeda. We then went into a nation-building phase, which I think is different because you can't win that militarily. I mean, you're taking a pre-modern society trying to create a democracy. So I think you can win if the goal is tactically destroying the ISIS remnants and the Taliban. You can do that. Can you make Afghanistan a thriving country militarily? It can't be done militarily.
So that's pretty wise advice from Congressman DeSantis. He was also asked about another unrelated but military-based issue. We've had the USS John McCain involved in a collision that killed, 14 crew members, believed dead as a result of this gash to the side of this destroyer. And this is the second time we've had something like that. The Vice Admiral in charge of the 7th Fleet was reassigned as a result of it.
Yeah.
But there's some growing suspicion that it might be the result of cyber sabotage messing with our navigation systems. If that's the case, it's a serious issue because it could be either China or Russia that's messing around with us. Ron DeSantis had a few things to say about that possible scenario.
The other thing that could be at issue here is potential cyber activity. Mm-hmm. And that is something that would be very significant. So in the Congress, we have interest as well in looking at some of this. The investigations that the Navy does from my time there are always very thorough. This will be very thorough. But yes, this is rocking the fleet right now.
Ron DeSantis, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about President Trump's message to the American Legion and a few other loose ends when we return with the rest of Trump Talk Live. Stay with us.
Your voice can be heard loud and clear right here on Trump Talk Live. Our local number is 239-0033. You can call us toll-free from anywhere in the USA at 800-927-0033. We'll be back with more Trump Talk Live, restoring America's founding values 1 hour at a time.
Al Smith here. Are you looking to sell a car? Want to make sure you get the most for that car without a lot of hassle? You need to contact AutoBuy, America's #1 car buying company, at WePayTheMax.com. That's right, WePayTheMax.com. AutoBuy will come to your home or office with its signature 20-minute no-hassle offer Or you can stop by their new Daytona location on ISB about 3 miles west of the Speedway. If they want to buy your car regardless of miles, they're looking for Ford, Chevys, Dodge, Nissans, Toyotas, subcompacts, medium-sized cars, all makes and models of trucks and SUVs. Is your company turning an old fleet into a new fleet? No matter if you have 1 or 100 vehicles, Autobuy will come to you and give you the max. Go to wepaythemax.com. If you have a current CarMax appraisal, Autobuy road buyers are standing by for same-day appointments that give you up to $8,000 more than CarMax. Autobuy is America's #1 car buying company and the only 5-star Google-reviewed car buying company. Go to wepaythemax.com.
Your voice can be heard loud and clear right here on Trump Talk Live. Our local number is 239-0033. You can call us toll-free from anywhere in the USA at 800-927-0033.
Welcome back to Trump Talk Live. Our president, the commander-in-chief, spoke to the American Legion Convention in Reno, Nevada this week, and he gave him a stirring message. Of course, they gave him their stirring support. He also talked about how his administration is doing something for veterans that hasn't been done for decades. But let's start off. Here's what he talked about when he first began talking about the role that the military plays as an example of how our society should behave. Cut 3.
Those who wear the nation's uniform come from all different backgrounds and from every single walk of life. But they are all united by shared values and a shared sense of duty. They are all part of one team with only one mission in mind. Most importantly, they're all Americans, and they work together, they fight together, and they sacrifice together to defend our magnificent home. Thank you.
He saluted them as guardians of American tradition and history, and he then talked about the dramatic VA reforms under which President Trump is keeping a 10-point promise to the veterans, thanks to the night and day efforts of Secretary David Shulkin.
He's working night and day to implement the 10-point reform plan that I discussed with you last year. Already we have made incredible progress. We are publishing wait times online for every VA facility, so you know what the wait is. We've delivered same-day emergency mental health services at every VA medical center. We've opened the promised White House VA hotline. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. We've dramatically increased the number of veterans approved to see the doctor of their choice and signal legislation to continue that very important choice program that I spoke to you about last year. And I want to thank the American Legion for your help in getting this done.
The VA Accountability Act was signed earlier this year by the president, and it's going to change the way the VA behaves because employees who don't behave are going to lose their jobs.
Something that they've been trying to pass for 40 years, and we've passed VA accountability legislation. So if somebody that works at the VA is bad to the people of the VA, disrespectful, not treating our fellow patriots well, we look at them and we say, you're fired. That's it. That's it.
That gets their attention, doesn't it? Now, the new GI Bill, signed last week. The president described what he did with that.
Last week, I also signed the Harry W. Comrie Veterans Educational Assistant Act. That's a big thing. This legislation bears the name of one of the first members of the Legion, your past commander, a man who wrote the original draft of the first landmark GI Bill in 1944. And now, under this legislation, veterans can use their GI benefits at any point in their lifetime.
That's very important. And finally, on that stage, the president signed a bill of that day that he was there to speed up the appeals process, which hadn't been updated since the 1930s.
Right here on this stage, I will sign another historic bill that the American Legion helped us deliver, the Veterans Appeals Improvement and Modernization Act. And you all know what that means. Right? No longer will veterans be kept waiting for years to get an answer to their appeals.
So, Tony, quite a list of accomplishments for the veterans, promises kept. Actually, Congress has actually come along with those promises.
Yes, it is. I mean, President Trump ran on a lot of things, and he is producing results. And I'm excited every day to stand up for him. You know, I've got some things coming up that you'll see later. I stand by President Trump, and I want the swamp drained. One last thing I want to put out there is Congressman Ron DeSantis is very seriously thinking about running for governor of the great state of Florida. So keep that in mind. So when he does file later on, you'll know that he is a solid Trump Republican. He knows the president very well, and that will go over great for the state of Florida. So if he runs, I will vote for Congressman Ron DeSantis to be governor of the great state of Florida.
I suspect, Tony, you'll do a lot more than just vote for him. Yep. In any case, now let's talk a little bit about this political correctness gone mad. ESPN pulled an announcer, an Asian sportscaster, from a football game because his name is, wait for it, Robert Lee. They thought it was erring on the side of caution. It's erring on the side of lunacy.
Stupidity, right.
It's absolutely ridiculous. Now, NPR, PBS buried their own poll results on Black Lives Matter, Antifa, and Confederate statues because guess what? The majority of the American people do not approve of what BLM, Antifa are doing. They also do not approve of tearing down willy-nilly Confederate statues without a rhyme or reason, and certainly not by the mob. So, Nancy Pelosi's father did dedicate Confederate statues to Robert E. Lee and Stonewall Jackson. They're located in Baltimore. So you might want a reminder of that next time she opens her mouth. You know? Okay. Charlottesville and its aftermath. Was it a setup? Yes, it was. Terry McAuliffe, you know, has got his eyes on the White House. So Terry McAuliffe thought he would set up a beautiful crisis that he could take advantage of. I think it kind of backfired, Tony.
Yep.
Free speech, the left is moving in for the kill. Google is working with liberal groups. Are they working with liberal groups to snuff out conservative websites?
Yep.
We would say, yes, they are. Check it out. You'll find a lot of these things on our Facebook page. Terry and the Antifa bandits will inherit the win. That's another analysis from the American Thinker, AmericanThinker.com. You'll get a lot of great analysis there. Monuments, media, and madness. So it's historical or hysterical. We want to remind folks that they can watch or listen, that is, to our podcast. Our podcast you can subscribe to on iTunes or Google Play, and you can listen to any of the archived episodes. We're halfway through the year now. This is episode 26. So we thank everybody for being with us, and let's make America great again.
Go Trump!
Feeling stuck in a state of compensation stagnation? You know, another year with no raise. Then let State Farm agent Sonia Mori in DeLand help you get to a better state with a discount double check that can stretch your hard-earned dollars a little farther. Sonia will go through your car insurance to make sure you're getting all the discounts you deserve. Discounts that could add up to 40% and put a few $100 extra in your pocket. Sound good? Then get your budget to a better state by calling State Farm agent Sonia Mori in DeLand today. Discounts may vary state to state.
You've been listening to Trump Talk Live, making America great again, 1 hour at a time. Follow us at Volusia County Republican Party on Facebook or go to our website, TrumpTalkLive.com, for updates. Join your Trump-Publican hosts, Vic Baker and Tony Ledbetter, for another fearless edition of Trump Talk Live next Thursday at 7 p.m. right here on WNDB 1150 AM and 93.5 FM. Trump Talk Live is presented each week by the Republican Party of Volusia County, where we, the people, have the right voice when it comes to defending America's founding values. In God we trust. In America, we believe.
The Republican Executive Committee of Volusia County is responsible for the content of this advertising.
News Talk, FM 93.5.